Good afternoon. I can't believe we're here, so. Welcome to the 2019 California Board of Accountancy meeting. This meeting is being conducted in person and via WebEx with the assistance of Solid. My name, I'm reading it, but I think I know what it is. My name is Michael Savoy. I am president of the California Board of Accountancy, or as we will refer to it, as the CBA. May I ask everyone, please put the microphone right to their face for the people in the back so they can hear. I couldn't hear back there, so please. Obviously, it's the first meeting we've had in person since January 2020. However, since we have some CBA member and members of the public in person and also via WebEx, I would like to describe for the third or fourth time today exactly how we're going to conduct this meeting. When I open discussions for members' comments, I will ask if any CBA members would like to make any comments. If so, please raise your hand if in person, or use the raise the hand feature if WebEx. Please wait until you're called upon. For public comments, I will ask any members of the public attending in Sacramento if they would like to make a comment. If so, please step up to the table and wait to be recognized. Once any comments from members of the public attending in Sacramento are received, I will ask the moderator to then open up the lines for any members of the public participating at alternate locations that have been noticed via WebEx. 5 minutes will be allocated to each individual providing any public comments. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to Ms. Reed to please take a roll call and establish that we have a quorum. When Ms. Reed calls your name, unmute your microphone, state your name, and please remember to mute your microphone when finished. Ms. Reed?
Nancy Corrigan. Nancy Corrigan. Carrie Ann Farrell-Hines.
Carrie Ann Farrell-Hines.
Dan Jacobson.
Dan Jacobson here.
Christian Lotta.
Christian Lotta, present.
Luz Molina Lopez.
Luz Molina Lopez, present.
Dee Dee Owens.
Dee Dee Owens, present.
Katrina Salazar.
Katrina Salazar, present.
Michael Savoy.
Michael Savoy, present.
Yen Tu.
Yen Chu, present.
And Evangeline Ward.
Evangeline Ward, present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. The CBA's mission is to protect consumers by ensuring only qualified licensees practice public accountancy in accordance with established professional standards. This mission is derived from the statutory requirement that protection of the public shall be the highest priority for the CBA in exercising its licensing, regulatory, and disciplinary action functions. Whenever the protection of the public is inconsistent with other interests sought to be promoted, the protection of the public shall be paramount. At this time, right before we start with agenda item 1, which is public comments for items that are not included in the May meeting, I will first ask for any public comments. Anyone in Sacramento? Moderator, open up for any public comments outside of here.
This is the moderator. I've opened up the Q&A online. Members of the public who are participating through WebEx, the instructions are on the screen. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark inside of the square and type comment and send it to all panelists. If you rather, you can raise your hand by clicking on the hand outline next to your name. Call-in users, you can press *3 to raise your hands. I do have a comments submitted through the Q&A. I can send a request to unmute microphone from AA. Going to set the timer to 5 minutes, and I'll give a 30-second warning. I've sent a request to unmute microphone.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes. You guys can hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is my first ever attending any of the meetings, so pardon, if I'm not in the right forum. So my name is Amit Arora, and that's what the abbreviation comes from as AA. And this is regarding the requirement for general experience for application of CPA license. So briefly about myself, I have recently cleared the exams, uniform CPA exams. However, I've never worked under a CPA, licensed CPA who can attest to my work in the field of accounts and finance. Having said that, I have been working in accounts and finance field for over 2 decades. I have a commerce graduate bachelor's qualification from India, and also I'm an Indian chartered accountant. And I have been working as a director finance with multinational company for more than 11 years now. Overall, my experience, as I said, is more than 20 years, all in field of accounting. And the only I see that this question has been answered verbally. So whether I stop or where do I see the
No,
answer?
I apologize. This is the moderator. Please proceed.
I'm sorry. So yeah, so as I said, I am an Indian chartered accountant. I have a bachelor's degree in commerce, and further, as a part of chartered accountant curriculum in India, we undergo mandatory articleship, which is like working with a practicing CPA for 3 years, and this is basically where we get the experience in the fields of attestation, auditing, accounting, taxation, and I would like to have a journal license. I continue to work in a non-public company, but I have all the prerequisites, and this is basically to see whether this request or whether you can condone of this requirement where my work experience can be supervised, can be attested by a CPA, licensee CPA. If required, I can furnish references from CPS whom I have never worked under, but they are within my workplace, and they can definitely attest to evidence of my non-public journal accounting experience. So this is just a request to see whether you guys can consider, given my background in accounting.
Is that it?
Yes, sir. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much for your question. This particular forum is to receive public input on today's agenda items only. Board members cannot respond individually to these questions. However, you may provide your contact information to board staff. They will reach back out to you and assist you specifically with your question. And you can find the appropriate member on the California CBA website. In that particular area, I don't know if it's licensing, initial licensing, but that person is available on the website to reach out directly and will be more than happy to answer your question.
This is the moderator. No additional requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please. Thank you. Before we move on to agenda item 2, which is the report of the president, as you all know, 3 new appointees were just made two of which are here today in their first ever CBA meeting. I can only relate to my first meeting 12 years ago. I'd like to introduce them. First of all, right here on my left, Ms. Christian Lada founded the Chic CPA in 2020, where she is currently the sole practitioner and supports women in the beauty and fashion industries by providing them with quality accounting services and business education. Concurrently, in 2021, she was an audit supervisor at a Mundo Petite Group and now continues to partner with them on various audit and training projects. Ms. Lada transitioned to private accounting in 2018 and held several positions at Guess from 2018 to 2020, including SEC Senior Financial Reporting Analysis and Merchandise Planning Analyst, where she diversified her background to include global public accounting and retail operations finance experience. She earned her bachelor's degree in accounting from the University of Louisville, Kentucky. Ms. Lada is a member of the Accountants of Color, the California Society of CPAs, and the American Institute of CPAs. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And you want to say anything at all, or?
Oh, no.
I said enough.
You
Okay.
said it all.
Thank you. Welcome. We look forward to your participation. Next, a little further down on my left, Evangeline Ward. Ms. Ward has been a registered dental hygienist since 2007 in the San Francisco Bay Area. She earned a bachelor's degree in health science from Fresno State University and a Master of Science degree in nutrition and human performance from Logan University. Ms. Ward has been a registered dental hygienist at Richard Tabor DDS since 2014, the Pinoli Family Dental from 2019 to 22, and at Compassionate Care Dental from 2011 to 2017. Additionally, she was employed as a dental hygiene instructor at the Diablo Valley College in 2015. Ms. Ward served on the Dental Hygiene Board of California from 2012 to 2022. She is a member of the California Dental Hygienists Association and the National Dental Hygiene Association. During the last decade, Ms. Ward has participated in various activities supporting equity and diversity for minority students and giving back to the community by volunteering her service to the population in need. Welcome.
Thank you so much, and I am excited to be here.
Good. We look forward to your participation in the future. Okay, moving ahead to agenda item 2A. We have some resolutions of retiring members of the Qualifications Committee and the Retiring Enforcement Advisory Committee. Agenda item 2A is a resolution for the Retiring Enforcement Advisory Committee member Jose Palma, CPA. If any member would like to make a motion to accept the resolution, please do so by raising your hand, and please wait to be called upon. Ms. Hines.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Nancy?
And I will second Ms. Hines' motion.
Thank you. Is there any questions or comments on this first and second? None. Is there any public comments from Sacramento? None. Moderator, can you please open it up for public comments elsewhere?
This is the moderator. Mr. Jacobson, any public comments from Tustin?
No, there's no one here but me.
Thank you. And the Q&A is now open for those members of the public participating via the WebEx platform. The instructions are on the screen. You can press the question mark inside of a square, open up the text field, type comment, and send it to all panelists. You can also raise your hand by clicking the hand icon next to your name. For those calling in, press *3 to raise your hand. No request. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please. Ms. Reed, call for a vote.
Nancy Corrigan,
Yes.
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines,
Yes.
Dan Jacobson,
Yes.
Christian Lotta,
Yes.
Luz Molina Lopez,
Yes.
Dee Dee Owens,
Yes.
Katrina Salazar,
Yes.
Michael Savoy,
Yes.
Yen Tu,
Yes.
and Evangeline Ward,
Yes.
and the motion carries.
Thank you. Agenda item 2B is a resolution for retiring Qualifications Committee member Nazi Rezayan, also CPA. If any member would like to make a motion to accept the resolution, please do so by raising your hand and wait to be called upon.
I
Yes,
move to accept the resolution.
Nancy,
Will second Ms. Owens' motion.
thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the board members? Are there any comments or questions from the members in our audience? Mr. Jacobson, any comments?
No, none in Tustin.
Please open it up to the public for any public comments, please.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. Feel free to click on the question mark, type comments, send to all panelists, or if you're calling in, press *3. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Ms. Reed, call for a vote.
Nancy Corrigan,
Yes.
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines,
Yes.
Dan Jacobson,
Yes.
Christian Lotta,
Yes.
Luz Molina Lopez,
Yes.
Dee Dee Owens,
Yes.
Katrina Salazar,
Yes.
Michael Savoy,
Yes,
Yen Tu,
Yes.
and Evangeline Ward,
Yes.
and the motion carries.
thank you. Moving ahead to agenda item 2C is a resolution for retiring Qualifications Committee member Kimberly Sugiyama, CPA. If any member would like to make a motion to accept the resolution, please do so by raising your hand and wait to be called upon.
Move to adopt the resolution.
And I will second that motion.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the board? Are there any public comments from Sacramento? Mr. Jacobson, any public comments from your end?
No, not in Tustin.
Moderator, please open it up for other public comments.
The Q&A is now open. Members of the public, you can participate by following the instructions on the screen. For those that are calling in, press *3 to raise your hand. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Reed, call for the vote.
Nancy Corrigan,
Yes.
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines,
Yes.
Dan Jacobson,
Yes.
Christian Lotta,
Yes.
Luz Molina Lopez,
Yes.
Dee Dee Owens,
Yes.
Katrina Salazar,
Yes.
Michael Savoy,
Yes,
Yen Tu,
Yes.
and Evangeline Ward,
Yes.
and the motion carries.
thank you. Moving ahead to agenda item 2D, provides members with information regarding opportunities to participate on committees with the American Institute of CPAs. The AICPA announced that on June 1st, 2022, the AICPA will begin accepting applications for the 2023-2024 volunteer year. Those interested in serving in any committee for the 2023-2024 volunteer year should complete the online committee interest application no later than October 1st, 2022. An overview of the AICPA volunteer environment is provided as an attachment. To ensure that staff track CBA member interests, please email Ms. Reed directly, who's the CBA Board Relation Analyst. And when you submit an application, and provide the committees that you are seeking appointment to. If there's any questions regarding any of these committees, please speak directly to Ms. Reed. Are there any comments from board members regarding this agenda item? Are there any public comments from Sacramento on this agenda item? Are there any public comments from Mr. Jacobson?
None in Tustin.
This is legal, if I may. If Mr. Jacobson could alert us if any member of the public were to enter his location in order to expedite, that'd be great.
Thank you, thank you. Can you open it up for any other public? Moderator, any other public comments?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. Instructions on the screen. Those calling in can press *3 to participate. No request. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you. Moving ahead to agenda item 2E, a discussion and review of new issues for inclusion in the California Board of Accountancy 2023 Sunset Review Report. Ms. Pierce.
Thank you. The purpose of this agenda item is to provide the CBA an opportunity to consider proposed content for the CBA's 2023 Sunset Review Report. The legislature established the Sunset Review Committee in 1995 and tasked it with reviewing all consumer-related boards every 4 years to determine whether each board has demonstrated a public need for the continued existence of that board. This will be the CBA's 7th time going through the Sunset Review process. As members may recall, we presented information to the CBA in March regarding board responses to prior issues, which was Section 11 of the Sunset Report. Section 12, regarding new issues of the Sunset Report, provides an opportunity for the CBA to inform the Sunset Committee of solutions to issues identified by the CBA, issues identified from prior Sunset Reviews that have not been addressed, and issues raised by the current Sunset Committee or other legislative committees. There are presently 5 issues identified for consideration in the Sunset Report, and I will briefly discuss each item. So issue number 1 is elimination of the Mobility Stakeholder Group. This is a staff recommendation. The Mobility Stakeholder Group, or MSG, conducted meetings and prepared annual reports documenting their activities, which all related to the implementation of the mobility program in California, and primarily worked on determining whether California's mobility provisions meet the CBA's duty to protect the public, and whether the provisions satisfy the objectives of stakeholders of the accounting profession, including consumers. The final meeting of the MSG was held in November 2019. Should any additional work be required relative to California's mobility provisions, it can be undertaken by the CBA or possibly one of its committees, for example, the Committee on Professional Conduct. The second issue that we are proposing is amending statutes regarding the denial of a retired status license. And this issue was approved at the September 2021 CBA meeting. Licensees who are approved to have their license placed in a retired status are prohibited by law from engaging in the practice of public accountancy. The CBA approved proposed amendments to Business and Professions Code Section 5070.1 to allow an individual with a permanent restricted practice order to be approved for a retired status license. Issue 3 is to remove references in our statutes requiring physical mailings to and from the CBA. This is a staff recommendation. There are at least 2 statutory sections that require a physical mailing to and or from the CBA. One relates to requires the CBA to mail proposed regulatory changes relating to the rules of professional conduct to every licensee at least 30 days prior to conducting a public hearing to enable the CBA to consider any objections to the proposed revisions. And we just did that in November regarding a regulatory proposal, and I think the cost was around $80,000. Business and Professions Code Section 5093B1A enables an applicant enrolled in a program at an institution that grants conferral of a bachelor's degree upon completion of the 150 semester units to qualify for the CPA exam if the applicant's institution mails the applicant's official transcript or its equivalent together or separately with a letter signed by the institution's registrar or its equivalent directly to the CBA. Staff will be proposing language that would remove the requirement for a physical mailing and replace it with an alternate means of communication such as electronic mail. Issue number 4 is increased access to peer review documentation. This is a staff recommendation. The American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, or AICPA, requires firms that are undergoing peer review to use its Peer Review Integrated Management Application, PRIMA, to submit and receive peer review related documentation. State boards of accountancy may, upon the approval of a firm, access certain documents and data that are stored in PRIMA. State boards access these documents and data using the AICPA's Facilitated State Board Access software system. As of 2020, 14 states require mandatory participation in FASBA. California does not currently require firms to participate. Staff are going to recommend a legislative change that would require accounting firms to participate in AICPA's Facilitated State Board Access, or FASBA, where various peer review related documents are stored, and allow access to CBA to those firm documents and data without prior firm approval. This change would allow the CBA to independently verify if firms are completing mandatory peer review and also allow for quicker access to peer review related information during enforcement investigations as needed. Additionally, staff are will be recommending a statutory change that would require the board-approved peer review program provider, the AICPA, to produce all peer review-related documents upon the request of the CBA. Issue 5 is to update statutory references for educational accreditation agencies consistent with the Code of Federal Regulations. It's a staff recommendation. The CBA relies on the list of institutions with accreditations recognized by the U.S. Department of Education under the requirements of the Higher Education Act of 1985 to determine if applicants have met the educational requirements stated in Business and Profession Code sections 5093 and 5094. Recent changes at the federal level eliminated regional accreditation and created one set of institutional accreditors. This change will not impact internal CBA processes, but could lead to confusion for both applicants and consumers. So staff will be recommending amending BPC sections 5093 and 5094 from a regional or national accrediting agency to just an accrediting agency. This would bring California statutes into alignment with the revised provisions of the Code of Federal Regulations. And then we also recognize that there may be additional new issues for future consideration, which could include recommendations from the consideration of the CPA Experience Requirements Task Force, and also potentially fee changes once the fee analysis is presented at a future meeting. So staff will revisit the new issues section of the Sunset Report at a future meeting and update as necessary, and proposed statutory language will also be presented at a future meeting based on feedback from the CBA on the new issues identified. And that concludes my report, and I will turn it back over to the President.
Thank you. Is there any comments or questions from the board? Yes, Katrina.
I would just share feedback that I think the staff proposed suggestions, I like and am supportive of what staff has put together, and would say thank you for all of the hard work.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other, Nancy?
Thank you. I agree with that. It's very good information. I think what they've identified is very important, and I just encourage them to go forward. One question I have is, and not that it matters maybe what this board decides to do you anticipate any kickback from somebody like AICPA in the requests that we're making?
I think there could be some potential maybe pushback or dialogues, but I'm hopeful that through communication and discussion with them that we could work through those issues.
Any other discussion amongst the board? Any public comments? I see Mr. Fox running up to the...
Thank you, and to Ms. Corrigan's comment. Just a little bit more context on issue number 4 related to the peer review item. So Cal CPA is the administering entity for the AICPA program, and as the administering entity, we have to follow the national peer review standards. And a key component of those standards is a degree of confidentiality in that peer review process. However, we recognize that the peer review program is integral to the consumer protection components of the board. So, I think as we look at that, navigating the difference between those two different standards and what California is trying to accomplish, there's some complexities there. Having said that, with the board staff's proposal related to the facilitated state board access, I think that's a good step forward. Some of the expanded access, there might be some complications and some challenges to work through to make that happen. Having said that, we've been engaging with some conversations with the board staff and the AICPA around this peer review concept. So, I think we're optimistic we can find some solution that kind of addresses all of the concerns and makes it work. I don't know if we're there yet, but I think we're committed to keeping that conversation going and trying to get there. So, thank you.
Thank you for that. Any further board comment? Moderator, can you open it up and see if there's any public comment?
This is the moderator. I've opened up the Q&A. Members of the public participating via WebEx. You can see the instructions on the screen for those that are calling in. You can press *3 to raise your hand. Requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please. Thank you. Moving ahead to agenda item 2F. This is a resolution for retired California Board of Accountancy member Mary Jiang. Whereas Mary Jiang, CPA, was appointed by Governor Edmund G. Brown Jr., and she has faithfully served as a member of the California Board of Accountancy from August 15, 2018 through May 5, 2022. And whereas she served as chair and a member of the Enforcement Program Oversight Committee, vice chair, and also a member of the Legislative Committee, and a member of the Committee on Professional Conduct, and the California Board of Accountancy member liaison to the Enforcement Advisory Committee, the Qualifications Committee, and the Peer Review Oversight Committee. And whereas throughout her term of service at all times, Mary Jiang, CPA, gave full of herself and her ideas and acted forthrightly and conscientiously and always with the public interest and welfare in mind. And whereas she was past president of the Oakland Rotary Endowment, a member of the California Society of CPAs, Statewide Committee of Taxation and Personal Financial Planning, the Piedmont Asian American Club, East Bay Association of Enrolled Agents, the Asian Real Estate Association of the East Bay, Ascend Planning Asian Leaders, the Northern California Chapter, and TaxAid. And whereas Mary Jiang has been principal owner at Mary Jiang CPA since 2013 and financial advisor at Advantex Investment Services since 1999. Prior to that, she held several positions at the Franchise Tax Board from 1994 to 2013, including tax auditor, audit supervisor, and program specialist. She was manager of administration at World Savings and Loan from 1989 to 1994, and manager of the accounting at the Federal Reserve Bank in San Francisco from 1984 to 1989. And whereas her colleagues wish to express to her their high esteem and regard, therefore be it resolved that the members of the California Board of Accountancy express heartfelt appreciation to Mary Jiang for the outstanding contribution she made during her term of service on the California Board of Accountancy and to the consumers of California. If any member would, Mayor, carry on.
I move to adopt the resolution.
When?
I would like to second that motion.
Are there any other comments or questions from the board? Any public comments in Sacramento regarding Ms. Xiong? Mr. Fox?
Jason Fox, the California Society of CPAs. I just want to recognize Ms. Jiang. She's been a very active member with the Cal CPA and with the board, and so recognize her for all of her accomplishments with the Board of Accountancy.
Thank you. Moderator, please open up for any public comments.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. Members of the public participating via WebEx, you can follow the instructions on the screen. You can raise your hand by clicking the icon next to your name. Calling users, you can raise your hand by pressing *3. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Ms. Reed, call for a vote.
Nancy Corrigan?
Yes.
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines?
Yes.
Dan Jacobson?
Yes.
Christian Lauda?
Yes.
Luz Molina Lopez?
Yes.
Dee Dee Owens?
Yes.
Katrina Salazar?
Yes.
Michael Savoy?
Yes.
Yin Tu?
Yes.
And Evangeline Ward?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Thank you. Agenda item 2G is the resolution for retired California Board of Accountancy member Mark J. Silverman, Esquire. Whereas Mark Silverman was appointed by Governor Edmund Brown, and he has faithfully served as a member of the California Board of Accountancy from January 15, 2014 through May 5, 2022, a little over 8 years. Whereas he served as Vice President in 2019 and part of 2022, Secretary Treasurer in 2017, 2020, and 2021, as a chair, vice chair, and a member of the Committee on Professional Conduct, chair and member of the Legislative Committee, vice chair of the consideration of the CPA Experience Requirements Task Force. He was a member of the Enforcement Oversight Program Committee, a member of the Strategic Planning Committee, and the California Board of Accountancy member liaison to the Peer Review Oversight Committee. And whereas throughout his term of service and at all times, Mark Silverman gave fully of himself and his ideas and acted forthrightly and conscientiously, always with the public interest and welfare in mind. And whereas he has been an advisor to and board member of Wonderly Avenue Healthcare and West Haven Therapeutics, he was also an entrepreneur in residence at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. And whereas Mark Silverman has been Chief Operating Officer and Executive Vice President at Scroll Motion, Inc. Prior to that, he served as Executive Vice President of Corporate Development at U.S. Interactive, Chief Operating Officer of Digital Evolution. He also worked as an executive in the packing manufacturing industry. Mr. Silverman started his career as an attorney advisor to the Executive Director of the Federal Trade Commission. And whereas his colleagues wish to express to him their high esteem and regard, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the California Board of Accountancy express heartfelt appreciation to Mark Silverman for the outstanding contribution he has made during his term of service on the California Board of Accountancy and to the consumers of California. If any member would like to make a motion, Carrie Ann.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Nancy,
I will second that motion. Thank you.
thank you. Is there any public from Sacramento?
Jason Fox of the California Society of CPAs. Just want to recognize Mr. Silverman, if anything, serving as treasurer on a board full of CPAs. He's been a very active and engaged public member, so we appreciate his service.
Thank you. Moderator, please open it up for any public comment.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is open. The instructions will be on the screen shortly. Members of the public online, I'm calling in, apologize. If you would like to participate, click on or press *3. For those online, you can click on the question mark inside of a square, type comments, send to all panelists, or simply click on the icon of a hand next to your name. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please. Ms. Reed, call for a vote.
Nancy Corrigan,
Yes.
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines,
Yes.
Dan Jacobson,
Yes, with an exclamation mark.
Christian Latta,
Yes.
Luz Molina Lopez,
Yes.
Dee Dee Owens,
Yes.
Katrina Salazar,
Yes.
Michael Savoy,
Absolutely.
Yin Tu,
Yes.
and Evangeline Ward.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, I gotta get a breath here, is agenda item 2H. We'll be getting a report from the Department of Consumer Affairs Director's Report on Departmental Activities by Mary Kate Cruz-Jones, who joined the Department of Consumer Affairs as an executive in their executive office in July 2021. In her role, she leads data analysis and collection for all boards and bureaus and assists boards and bureau relations in special projects. Prior to working in the executive office at the DCA, she was the manager of the Discipline Coordination Unit and assistant to the executive director and board member liaison of the Medical Board of California. She obtained her undergraduate degree from the University of California, Davis in Spanish and sociology, and her master's degree in public policy and administration from California State University, Sacramento. Ms. Jones.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Wonderful. Good afternoon, board members. I'm Mary Kate Cruz-Jones with the Department of Consumer Affairs. Thank you for allowing me an opportunity to provide a department update today. The department would like to give a warm welcome to members Corrigan, Latta, Rosenbaum, and Ward. We are very excited that you have continued to stay on the board, as well as coming here to join us today for our newer members. On April 1st, Board and Bureau Relations on April 1st, boards and bureaus returned to meeting in accordance with all aspects of the Open Meeting Act, including publicly noticing all meeting locations. There is legislation, AB 1733, which would permanently allow boards and committees to meet remotely, while also providing both virtual and physical options for members of the public to participate. Unfortunately, this bill was not heard in a policy committee before the deadline. Therefore, it will not move forward this year. If your board took a position or is planning to take a position on this legislation, it may still be helpful to share this information with the authors and committees. Please be sure to send a copy of your position letter to Jennifer Simoes, Deputy Director of Legislation, so that she can facilitate this communication. Recently, Board and Bureau Relations distributed to all board and committee members guidelines and requirements to adhere to when conducting in-person meetings. In sum, this communication addresses requirements for meetings under the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act, making sure you adhere to local public health guidelines at a meeting location, face coverings, and vaccination verification and testing. Sorry for being tongue-tied. DCA has also shared guidance and tips from California Health and Human Services Agency to reduce the spread of COVID-19 for in-person meetings. If you have not already done so, I encourage you all to review these documents. Additionally, through state guidance, although it has relaxed mandatory face coverings, the California Department of Public Health strongly recommends that individuals continue to mask in indoor settings. DCA has also shared signage which you can post at your meetings to notify attendees of face covering of this recommendation. As you prepare for upcoming meetings, please be aware of changing public health guidance and remember that as state representatives, we are all expected to adhere to state and local orders while carrying out our duties. DCA will be administering surveys until further notice to capture and track the costs and attendance for all meetings since April 1st, when all aspects of the Open Meeting Act resumed, to demonstrate the benefits of conducting remote meetings as allowed under the prior executive order. We have distributed to all boards and bureaus a request that you complete this survey 30 days after each meeting held. Should you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Board and Bureau Relations. Whether meeting remote or in person, DCA wants to keep your board fully seated with excellent members and diverse voices. Currently, the board has one vacancy, a licensee appointed by the governor. Board and Bureau Relations is here to assist with the reappointment process. Likewise, if there's interest in advertising for vacancies, DCA communications teams recently released a new communications toolkit to assist boards with member recruitment, and this is also available in multiple languages. Board members can encourage individuals to visit board member resources on the DCA's homepage to apply for an appointment. DCA is pleased to announce the inaugural report of the Enlightened licensing project that is now available and was distributed to all boards and bureaus on Friday, May 13th. This innovative and collaborative project was started to streamline and enhance licensing processes by utilizing the knowledge and expertise of subject matter experts within DCA's boards and bureaus. This inaugural project was conducted in partnership with the Board of Registered Nursing. After a thorough assessment of BRN's licensing processes, the project's co-chairs provided recommendations to introduce new ideas and implement best practices for critical licensing activities. DCA hopes that all boards and bureaus can learn from this report and implement recommendations where applicable. It's DCA's goal to provide our boards and bureaus effective and efficient licensing activities. And after this successful round, the project co-chairs will hopefully soon begin helping another board or bureau. Another communication which you may have recently received from Board and Bureau Relations is our new quarterly newsletter. I'm pleased to announce that on April 5th, Board and Bureau Relations distributed the first edition of its quarterly newsletter titled Board Members, Did You Know? To all of our board members and committee members. This newsletter is an outreach tool to keep you informed of various departmental activities, as well as information that may be impactful for you as a board member. We hope this is something which is very helpful to you, and we welcome your feedback for future distributions. And if you did not receive the newsletter, please feel free to reach out to us so that we can verify what your contact information is. I'm excited to share 3 new members of the DCA executive team that have been serving since March. We have Tanya Corcoran, who began serving as the department's first compliance and equity officer. She started on March 2nd in her role, and she oversees DCA's solid training and planning, organizational improvement office, equal employment opportunity office, as well as the internal audits office. Additionally, Terrence Brass joined DCA as the chief of the Division of Investigation. That began on March 28th. As the DOI chief, Mr. Brass will lead a team responsible for providing investigative services to DCA's boards and bureaus with the mission to protect and serve all California consumers. And last but not least, Dadang Prahidi was selected to serve as the department's internal audits chief, also effective March 28th. As the internal audits chief, he will lead audit efforts to provide independent and consulting services designed to add value and improve department operations. Board and Bureau Relations is currently experiencing a transition in coverage. Carrie Holmes, Deputy Director of Board and Bureau Relations, has left DCA effective May 13th. Additionally, Brianna Miller has accepted another position and will be leaving her role on June 10th. DCA appreciates the support and service that Brianna and Carrie have provided to our boards and bureaus. And I'd like to assure you all that during this transitional period, DCA Executive Office and Board and Bureau Relations will continue to ensure continuity of services to all DCA boards and bureaus. Finally, as a reminder, board members who were recently appointed or reappointed, we ask that you attend the board member orientation training within a year of your appointment date. You can register for the live virtual training through the Learning Management System, which is DCA's training portal. The remaining trainings for this year will occur on June 15th or October 12th. As always, Board and Bureau Relations is here to help, and if there is anything that we can do to assist, please feel free to reach out. This concludes my presentation, and I will hand it back over to President Savoy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your report. Very informative. Is there any questions or comments from board members? Is there any public comment regarding this report? In Sacramento, I'm sorry. Moderator, please open it up to see if there's any public comments or questions.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is open. The instructions are on the screen. If you call-in users, if you would like to participate, press *3 to raise your hand. Those logged in, you can click on the icon next to your name to raise your hand, or type comment and submit it to all panelists. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you. Before we move ahead to agenda items 3, which is nothing, and then 4, I would like to personally thank the California CPA Society for allowing me to grace the cover of your magazine for a 3rd time. Thank you very much. The report of the newly appointed vice president, there doesn't seem to be one, so there you go. However, in your previous role, you were secretary treasurer, so since we haven't reappointed a person yet, would you please give that report?
Well, thank you for making me feel so welcome. With that, this is agenda item 4A. I'm Katrina Salazar as your acting secretary treasurer. The 3rd quarter financial report was provided in the second mail out. So if you are following in an electronic format, that is starts on page 19 of 56 to help orient you. And we have reviewed financials several times throughout this fiscal year. This will be primarily highlights. So I do want to point out for your review that this is the 3rd quarter. For those of you following with the calculator, that would be 9 months of activity for our fiscal year, which started on July 1st, 2021. It's worth noting that the Board of Accountancy budget authority for the current fiscal year remains set at $18,077,000. As you will note on page 2, actual expenditures and encumbrances as of March 31st, 2022 were $12,695,204. And that represents about 70% of the board's total budget. So based upon these figures and with a little hard work from the board staff, the projection is that the board will end fiscal year 21-22 with a budget surplus of almost 6.9%. If you move along to page 5, I would highlight the illustration that revenue received to date totals $13,202,854, and that is projected to be approximately $17,261,419 by the end of the fiscal year. As a result of these projections, the fund condition, which you will find on page 7 of the report, does project that the California Board of Accountancy will end the current fiscal year with approximately 7.5 months in reserve. So again, we've touched on the highlights in terms of expenditure analysis, projections and the months in reserve. And so in summary, we are expecting to close the year with a sufficient reserve. And with that, that concludes my report. And I would like to turn it back over to President Savoy in case there are any questions.
Any questions or comments from our board? Any public comments in Sacramento regarding this report? Moderator, any public comments from the public?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. Instructions are on the screen. Members that logged in, if you would like to participate, press *3 to raise your hand. Again, members of the public, you can click on the question mark, type comment, send it to all panelists. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you. At this time, I'd like to move agenda item 6 forward. Reports on the various subcommittees. Mr. DeLizer, would you please report on the Peer Review Oversight Committee?
Yes, and thank you for moving me ahead today. The Peer Review Oversight Committee held its meeting here at the California Board of Accountancy on May 13th, 22, last week. And I'd like to thank the CBA liaison, Soshi Leon, for attending the meeting and providing an overview of the CBA's activities from their March 22 CBA meeting. The PROC voted and approved the meeting minutes from the February 22 PROC meeting. The minutes will be presented to the CBA at their July board meeting. PROC members have engaged in several oversight activities since that February 22nd meeting. PROC members attended 13 report acceptance body meetings and found that they all met the CBA's expectations. PROC members reviewed 2 out-of-state administering entities, the Pennsylvania Institute of CPAs and the Peer Review Alliance. And as you'll recall, the PROC reviews those out-of-state administering entities because there are occasionally California firms who have their peer reviews administered. The Pennsylvania Institute of CPAs administers the peer review program for the states New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and the Virgin Islands. Pennsylvania Institute of CPAs complied with the required administrative procedures and standards. However, the reviewer did note system reviews are not consistently being presented to the report acceptance bodies within the required 120 days. The Peer Review Alliance administers the peer review program for the states of Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, South Carolina, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. The reviewer noted that the Peer Review Alliance complied with all the required administrative procedures and standards in all material respects. As a standing item, the PROC members also discussed notices posted on the AICPA's and the NASBA websites regarding changes and updates to the peer review program. Lastly, the PROC reviewed, discussed, and approved proposed amendments to the Peer Review Oversight Committee Procedures Manual. The PROC expects to present the approved version for CBA approval later this year. Our next PROC meeting will be held on August 12th, 22 here at the CBA. I turn it back over.
Thank you. Is there any comments or questions of Mr. DeLizer from the board? Any public comments regarding his report from Sacramento? Moderator, please open it up to any public comments from anywhere else in the world.
This is the moderator. Sorry, I heard the echo there. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. Call-in users, you can press *3 to raise your hand. And those participating online, you can click on the hand icon next to your name to raise your hand. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. DeLizer. Appreciate it. Let's move ahead to item number 5, the report of the executive officer. 5A is an update on the California Board of Accountancy CBA Connect application. Suzanne Garcia, the Business Modernization Project subject matter expert.
Thank you, Mr. President Savoy. For this item, I am providing an update on the CBA Connect application. Sorry about that. For this item, I am providing an update on the CBA Connect application and will be demonstrating how to create a CBA Connect account and how to complete a CPA license renewal using the CBA Connect system. Development for the online renewal license in CBA Connect was completed in March 2022. The CBA deployed CBA Connect in early April 2022. Since its release, the CBA has received 3,396 online renewals. The CBA continues to monitor the performance of CBA Connect for continued development that will enhance the online renewal experience. One enhancement that is already in progress is the ability to allow batch import of continuing education. For example, this would enable licensees to upload their CE courses from a document downloaded from their firm's CE tracker instead of typing the information directly into CBA Connect. The CBA will soon be launching a survey to users as a means of collecting feedback to assist the CBA in determining what future enhancements can be made. I will now provide a walkthrough and show you how a user can create an account in CBA Connect, as well as the license renewal process. So if I can ask the moderator to provide me a presenter role so I can share my screen.
Yes, you have the presenter.
Okay, let me just make sure I'm sharing my screen correctly. Okay, here we go. So on our CBA website, in order to get to the online application, from our home page, you can click on this little graphic right here. It will take you to the account, to the sign-in page, where you will scroll down and click the button that says click here to create an account. And in this section, it will ask you for some information to create that account. I'm going to go to a different tab here as I've preloaded some information here just to save up a little time. So I've entered information here, first name and last name, date of birth, the last four, your social security number, the email address that you would like to use to receive any communication from the CBA Connect system, and the phone number. And there's also, the system will also send SMS text messages if you'd like. If you check this little checkbox here, you can opt out of that feature. So I'm going to go ahead and click to create my account. And just want to point out that there may be some lag time in the loading of pages here, just because I am working in the development environment. And so there might be some little lag time here, but in the production environment, this is definitely performs a lot quicker. All right, so I've created my account. Actually, I don't think that did that. Apologize, let me reload my info. I appreciate your patience. I thought I was going to be able to bypass all this everybody watching me type everything. No pressure. Okay, now let's click the magic button. There we go. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. It's not working. Let me try one more test record. I do have a backup. Again, thank you. I appreciate your patience. Just go to that? Okay. So just to save us time, I'm just going to go ahead and skip this step and go to the tab that I've already created an account in. But just to give you the little brief walkthrough is if you click the account, you'll receive a message that says that you will be getting a temporary account, a temporary password at your email. And then when you go to your email, you just cut and paste that temporary password, come back to the sign-in page, then you will log in, and then it will ask you to link your CPA license number. So once you do that, you'll get to this screen right here. This is your dashboard. Up here, you'll see your basic license information, license number, issuance date, expiration date. Down here, if you have submitted an application, you will see the information related to your application status. And then down here is the continuing education section where you can add continuing education information in between your renewal cycles if you want to keep track of it. It's not required, so it's definitely optional for you. And so now I will go to the Renew button. This is where you will access the renewal application. Okay, so the first tab is the Instructions tab. This gives you just a little bit of information that will help you answer some of the questions on the online application. Then you click the Next, and this will bring you to the Personal Information tab. This is just for information only. There's no action required from you here, but just to double check that your information is correct. If you do need to make a change to your address, you can do that from your dashboard. The next page is the Renewal Information tab. So it brings up a couple of questions that you are currently asked on the paper application. So you will check active and inactive. If you do inactive, it does hide some certain questions. So you will only have to answer one question if you are inactive. And then this, similar with some of the questions on this page, they do have a show hide behavior. So depending on how you answer the question, it will show some additional questions that you will have to respond to. So the sole proprietor question also has that type of behavior. If you say yes, there will be additional questions that you will have to respond to. I'm just going to quickly answer these to get to the next tab. Okay, this brings you to the continuing education questions. So this just asks the questions about what type of work that you may have performed prior to your expiration or prior to your renewal. So I'm going to just answer these quickly. And so I mentioned earlier, I preloaded some of these courses on the dashboard that we saw a few minutes ago. Any courses that you enter on that dashboard do get imported into your renewal application already. So you don't have to do that twice. Whatever you list on your dashboard automatically goes into your application. And so I also mentioned earlier, we were working on the enhancement to CBA Connect that was going to allow the batch import of continuing education. And so when that becomes available, there will be a button in this section that will allow you to upload that. So you can upload your one Excel file or tracking sheet, and then you won't have to do it one at a time, as I'm going to show you right now. So I've added enough courses, but I'm missing my ethics course, so I better take that if I want to get approved. Just enter. So the calendar actually lets you enter a date with a calendar, or you can type it in, however you prefer. And then again, if I'd want to upload a certificate of completion here, I can, but it's not required. However, if you are selected for an audit, that would be when we would ask you for your certificate of completion or evidence of completing your courses. So I'm going to save that course.
So even though it's not required, if you uploaded it?
It just, absolutely.
So if you uploaded the completion document, that would be okay, or?
Absolutely.
So that would kind of avoid an audit if you did that in advance. Thank you.
All right. So I have included all my CE. There is also another view that I would like to show you. If you click on the Summary tab, it gives you the breakdown of your hours as well by category. So that's just one view, and then I'll go back to the details. And then now I will hit Save and Next. And I'm going to sign my application. Hit Save and Next. I have to agree to one more confirmation. And I will now pay for it. You can easily copy your details from your profile if nothing has changed, but of course, if you need to provide a different billing address, you can do that as well. I will pay and submit. You have a good credit card. Okay, so now I've got the message that my application and payment has successfully submitted. I'm going to go back to my dashboard. And we will see the application status here. So it's told me that I am approved. So the CBA Connect system validated my continuing education, and it saw that I've met everything. And now my application is approved. If you want to see a copy of the application you submitted, you can click on this little link right here with the application number. And then also I just wanted to point out this section under this area shows all of the communication that you've been receiving from the time that you created your account to the time you changed your password. You also get your application approval. So any notification that would come from the CBA, you can find here. So this concludes my presentation. I would like to turn it back to President Savoy, and I will be happy to answer any members' questions.
Thank you. Ms. Tu, you had a question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staying on this page, on the back end, would this give the account member, when they're applying, any notifications? For example, if they delay in their education certificate that they're supposed to be, well, actually, technically, they don't have to put in unless they are audited. So similar to the DMV's account that I opened for myself, it doesn't give me notification of like not licensing renewal or registration renewal. Does this notify member that they need to have renewal coming up and so forth?
Okay, yes, I do believe I understand your question. So one, if you are up for renewal and you do have a CBA Connect account and you have linked your license, you will get reminders that it's time for renewing. Yes. Additionally, if you are late, it will remind you again, hey, we haven't received your application yet. So there is definitely notifications that will be sent to you.
So this is not live. This is not live yet on the account. I mean, on the website, or is it?
This is live. Yeah.
Live.
Yeah. We launched April 4th, and
Thank you and congratulations on a very impressive platform. And I implore you to go over to the State Bar and help them out too, please.
thank you.
First,
I agree. This is amazing. Actually, while you were doing it, I signed myself up. So I think this is great. So in theory, someone could stay current throughout your 2-year period by just loading things as you go, and it just scooches over into the application, which is really helpful. I did have a question. Would you still receive the pay notifications if you sign up?
I'm not 100% on the paper.
I think the question is, will you still get your renewal in the mail? Correct. Right. So we are in the process of changing out the fact that you currently get an entire renewal application in the mail from instead getting a postcard or a letter. And we'll start with a letter, then eventually, hopefully, a postcard that will direct you to this site to renew. So at this point in time, we are thinking we will still have something in the mail, but eventually it will be much less than what you're getting now. Okay, because my only concern was if the email changes and somebody just doesn't remember that it's coming up, that they could kind of not see that. The other question I had was around errors. So if they don't have enough, will it still let them go?
Actually, so the system will validate the education that's in there. So if they're missing anything, it actually will show an error message before they submit the application.
Great. Okay, thank you.
But you want me to say that?
Ms. Ward?
Thank you. That is wonderful, Tour. I do believe other boards should adopt that. But my question is, if they upload the certificates and they don't have to, which can be a way to make sure you don't get an audit, because here you go. But does someone actually look at the certificate to make sure it's theirs and it's valid still?
Yes, so when it goes to the back office, staff do review the documents that are uploaded. Make sure it's valid documents and not, a restaurant menu.
That's fine. That is wonderful. Thank you.
A follow-up to Ms. Owen's question about the email address, though, didn't we have a requirement that licensees have an email address like that? Yeah, so does it require them to use the email or to upload and connect the email address that they are required to have on file with the CBA as part of their licensing requirement?
We are currently collaborating internally to look at whether or not we can leverage all the emails that we're getting via this system, and so we're having those conversations right now.
Okay, all right.
And if you don't mind, President Savoy, I'd like to kind of piggyback on one of the other questions and answers. Just for example, Suzanne's example showed that she met all the requirements. If she did not meet all the requirements, it would not just give her an error. She would also not get approved. And so I just want to point out that there is a process by which if you don't meet the requirements, you go into a queue for staff to review your information. And so it's not, by the way, you've missed something, but here's the approval. So just to clarify that a little bit.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Oh, excuse me if I missed this during the demonstration. When you upload your certificates, if you're doing it throughout the year, does the platform automatically categorize that for the different requirements, or do we need to manually categorize those?
So the uploading of your certificate or your documentation of proof that you actually participated in the various CE, that's the part that is optional. If you are not selected for an audit, we do not review that information. If you are selected for an audit, we will review the information that you have already uploaded, and if there is, of course, missing documentation, either you elected not to upload it, or maybe some of them are not there, then staff will reach out to you to make sure that you have an opportunity to submit the rest of your documentation.
Ms. Tu.
You didn't demonstrate it, but maybe it's already in here. Payment is in this website, right? Okay. So did you pay yours?
I do have one follow-up question to that. Would you want to stop it from going, right? So say I hit yes on government credits and then I don't enter any. I'm assuming I can still, if I put in 80, I can still submit, right? And pay. Right, the system provides you feedback, but it doesn't prevent you from submitting your application. Okay. It's kind of like is that your final answer approach? So that we may encourage you that you may want to go quickly take another CE course. So we do have that approach in there, but it doesn't prohibit you if you're missing some CE from submitting it. You would then get put in the back office queue for review.
Any other? Yes, Patty.
Yes, Ms. Lott, I just wanted to go back to your question and make sure we understood that correctly. Were you asking about the upload of documents, or when you said categorize, were you asking about the type of continuing education, whether technical, non-technical? I just want to make sure we understood your question.
Yes, thank you, Patty, for clarification. Yeah, it was the categorization of the type of education.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. So, so Suzanne, when she put in her CE, she did it very quickly, but she, as in the licensee, would select what category that particular CE falls into. You can see she's using the drop down right now. Was it ethics? Was it fraud? And so forth. So that decision is made by licensees. If you look at the information on what Suzanne is showing you right now, this is the type of information that we're currently working with CalCPA and some of our larger accounting firms to see if they already have this information in their system, if there's a way to make it easier for licensees to only upload that once instead of putting it in every single time. But the category is selected by them.
Okay.
Yes. Follow-up. If that responsibility is up to the licensee, am I correct in assuming that that's not reviewed unless an audit takes place?
It would be reviewed either if an audit is selected or if you did not meet the CE requirements that are checked via the engine. Did that answer your question? So let's say you put in something incorrectly. If you still met the requirements for the number of hours and the number of hours via each of those categories, that would be caught either via an audit or if your total number of hours didn't meet the requirement. The engine itself looks at some information. So for example, it was very quick, but if you went back to the screen that Suzanne had, she was answering questions that indicated whether or not she would be required to take specific CE. One of them would have been related to auditing, for example. If she answered a specific question about the kind of work that she performed, then the engine would know, oh, I need to see so many hours in that category. So there is some intelligence and in the engine itself about what is expected but there is some reliance on that licensee putting their CE in the appropriate category. The good news is that because we have the ability to use this technology, the hope is that going forward, we will be able to increase the number of audits that we're able to do because technology is going to take the place of some of the initial work that our staff are currently doing.
Sorry. Is it possible for a licensee to incorrectly categorize? For example, like if I took a tax CE and I accidentally put an audit, is the intelligence there for it to distinguish between that?
The intelligence isn't there in the sense that there is some type of artificial intelligence in the background that can say, oh, that should have been somewhere else. There are definitely CE courses that qualify in more than one category. And so that's where you see our licensees, I wouldn't say making mistakes because, like I said, they can go in more than one category, but sometimes they need assistance in making the best choice for themselves. In other words, that could go in multiple places. What's the best benefit? They don't always make that decision appropriately to make sure that they have everything covered. Currently, staff are helping them with that. In this approach, we are now relying on them to make a determination for which CE, where they want to count those hours.
Thank you.
Any further? Yes, Ms. Ward.
I'm assuming, but I shouldn't assume. So somewhere at the last, before you hit enter, does it say everything is good, it's valid, but if you find a mistake, then it's not approved at that point? Because right now, the way it's set up, if the computer catches you have all your units, it looks good, you're approved, payment went through. But if later on, for some reason, you go back and you notice this is in the wrong category, you actually don't have what you said you have, then at that point, is the license not valid? And or whatever it's, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So the system here is very similar to what we have now in the sense that you are approved and then the audit occurs after that approval. So that isn't a change in the sense of implementation of this system versus what's going on now. The difference is now there actually is some checks instead of just a payment. Right now, many of you notice you make your payment and you're just automatically renewed. With this system, there's actually more checks and balances in place than what we had previously. If we do find something, then you will, of course, receive a deficiency letter and you will be asked to make those corrections. And then if that is not, of course, done or cannot be corrected in a timely manner, then we do send those over to our enforcement division.
So, I mean, the characterization is up to you, the individual. If I put in I'm subject to signing reports, and I don't put 24A and A, it will not approve me, right? I mean, right then and there. So there are certain preempts that you enter that will either tell you yay or nay. But if you just have a general license and enter 80 hours, it might say okay, and then they may come back and say, where's fraud? Where's ethics? You know, so I don't think it's perfected yet, but it looks really close. Any further questions? We have to move along from the board. Are there any public comments on this report from Sacramento? Moderator, can you open it up to see if there's any public comments from outside Sacramento?
This is the moderator. I'm going to check with Mr. Jacobson. Any public comments?
No, and there's still no one here.
Okay, thank you. I've opened up the Q&A. Members of the public who are logged into the WebEx, you can participate. The instructions will be on the screen shortly. You can click on the question mark inside of the square, type comment, and send it to all panelists. Or you can raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name. Those who have called in, you can press *3 to raise your hand. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Let's do two more items for today before we adjourn. Item 5B, the report of the Administration Division. Ms. Pierce.
Thank you. This will be a brief report. I just want to highlight a couple of items. Staff is continuing to work on the State Leadership Accountability Act report, or SLAE, which requires all state agencies to monitor their internal control systems to minimize fraud, errors, waste, and abuse of government funds. The report identifies some of the CBA's risks and how we are addressing those. The CBA submitted its SLAE report in December 2021, and we are required to prepare and submit an implementation plan every 6 months. The CBA has completed its implementation plan. It's presently under review by the Department of Consumer Affairs, and it will be submitted to the Department of Finance by the June 30 deadline. Staffing update, we currently have 14 vacancies. We have one position starting next week, taking us down to 13, and we are working very much to try to fill those positions. And staff has updated the questions in the stakeholder feedback survey. In the first quarter of 2022, 82% of persons responding to the survey reported that they were satisfied or very satisfied with the service they received from the CBA. And this is an increase from the 75% that we had in the fourth quarter of 2021. So we're continuing to make customer service a very high priority. That concludes my report, and I'll turn it back to the president, but I'm happy to answer any questions members may have.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Pierce from the board? Any questions from the public in Sacramento? Moderator, open it up to any public comments regarding this report, please.
The Q&A is now open. Online participants, instructions are on the screen. Those calling in, press *3 to raise your hand. No request. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Pierce. Last but not least for today is an update on the California Board of Accountancy's communications and outreach. Mr. Ibarra.
Thank you, President Savoy. Let's end this thing with a bang. Good afternoon, evening, whatever you want to call it. I'm Patrick Ibarra, Information and Planning Officer with the CBA. I'll begin with outreach. The CBA participated in an event with California State University, San Bernardino, in late April titled Spring Connection 2022. It was a chance for the 35 students who attended to meet and virtually mingle with professionals working at various accounting firms. President Savoy, the esteemed President Savoy, spoke about the role of the CBA and the value of a CPA license. CBA staff presented the requirements to sit for the uniform CPA examination and apply for CPA licensure. After their presentation, staff answered questions from the students. I'm looking forward to showing you the latest CBA video at the July meeting, not today. Our lighthearted but informative take on the 4 E's requirements for CPA licensure will be coming soon. The Information and Planning Unit, that's my team, teamed up with the Initial Licensing Unit to help promote CBA Connect upon its launch in April, which you just saw. So, she deserves the thunder that she just took. But the Department of Consumer Affairs created a sharp-looking graphic for us, which we used on the website and social media. An e-news announcement was sent to all licensees, informing them of the impending change to the license renewal process and encouraging them to sign up for their CBA Connect account. A feature article was published in Update 95, and recurring social media posts continue to trumpet the benefits CBA Connect brings to our licensees. And now, I'd like to show off the hard work CBA staff has put into refreshing the CBA website. We're still putting the final touches on it before we release it to the public, possibly as soon as early July, but I wanted to show a sneak preview today. Ensuring our consumers are well informed is part of the CBA vision statement, and making resources readily available, current, and easier to locate on our website definitely furthers this vision. Giving stakeholders the ability to access the information they need on our website quickly adds to their overall satisfaction with the CBA, and decreases phone and email inquiries, freeing up CBA staff to perform their other duties. This also aligns with our efforts this year to improve customer service, as many people, me included, prefer to find information quickly themselves online. Now, I'll preface this by saying I didn't trust a live demo because I didn't trust myself with it. So I've pre-recorded a video for you guys that I'd like to show you now.
To begin, let me remind you how the front page of our website currently appears. There it is. Should be familiar to you. With our new refresh, CPA is making the site easier to navigate for our stakeholders. You ready to see it? Drum roll, please. Boom, there it is. Ooh, ah. First thing visitors to our new website will notice is the images in the rotating carousel near the top of the screen. Items featured in this carousel at any given time will be newer updates or information we want to spotlight. We will be working with our partners at the Department of Consumer Affairs to produce the graphics for the carousel. This version of the site now stretches all the way across the page, allowing lots of room, even more since the sidebar from the current site was removed. Below our mission and vision statement is a cool feature we're adding called Infoblox. You'll notice we use these blocks heavily across different pages of the new site, as they're a great way to call someone's attention to important information on the page. When someone first visits the site, they will see the tops of these boxes on their screen, which we hope will entice them to scroll down to see the rest. These blocks direct people to some of the highest visited pages on the site. Information about examination, licensure, and renewal are clearly linked to from these boxes, as is Verify a License. The Quick Hits box highlights other useful pages. Scrolling down further on the home page, you'll come to the application processing dates, which are updated weekly, and then the announcements and upcoming events. But wait, there's more. Heading back up to the top of the home page brings us to icons leading to specific landing pages for consumers, applicants, licensees, military and refugees, communications and outreach, and about, which is about the CBA. Each of these landing pages has undergone a significant facelift as well. Let's start by taking a peek at the consumers page. First, check out the way it currently looks. Now it's a more organized presentation. The information on the page is still there, but the main reasons someone may go to this page are spotlighted in the Infoblox right on top. We feel this is a much better user experience for the consumer trying to figure out how to file a complaint or look up someone's license, two highly used pages on the CBA website. The page with probably the biggest changes, however, is the Applicants page. Check out the way it currently looks. Now clicking on the applicants icon from the home page brings them here to a page where there are 5 options to choose, depending on what type of applicant they are. Each option takes them to a new page with the information specifically relevant to them. Let's take a look at the top 2, since those will be the highest used of the bunch. Clicking the I am an exam candidate button brings you to this page with everything an exam candidate needs to know. FAQs and the exam quick tips provide helpful information. And there's a link to a page explaining how they can submit their transcripts to the CBA. Once candidates are ready to move forward, the final info block directs them to create their CBA client account and then apply for the CPA exam. Clicking the I am a licensure applicant button directs you to another helpful and redesigned page. More info blocks focus on each of the main requirements for CPA licensure, as well as more FAQs. When the applicant is ready, the final block takes them right to the online application. We hope applicants will be able to find exactly what they're searching for much more easily with this new setup. Let's take just a quick look at one more of the landing pages. The Communications and Outreach page used to look like this. But with the refresh, will now look, well, better. The podcast, videos, webcasts, our events, and update newsletters all have top billing. The way the newsletter and reports are presented even has a slick new design. We hope these changes are a major upgrade to the look and feel of the CBA website and should be a big improvement in how our stakeholders are able to find and access the information important to them.
We're excited about the upcoming launch of the refreshed website, and we will continue to add improvements to it throughout the rest of the year as we identify more opportunities for enhancements. That concludes my presentation on this agenda item. I'll now turn it back over to President Savoy, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of board members? This looks excellent. Thank you. Can't wait to see it. Don't know. Any questions of the public in Sacramento? Moderator, open it up for any public questions or comments.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is open. Members of the public, if you would like to participate, the instructions will be on the screen shortly. Simply click question mark, type comment, send to panelist, or click on the icon of the hand next to your name. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Patrick. Great report. Before we adjourn, just one last reminder, we are having a member and stakeholder dinner tonight, the long-awaited 2+ years. It'll be held at the Yard House located at 405 K Street, which is about 4.4 miles from where we are right now. That's even better. The reservation is for 6:30 p.m. and it's under the name California Board of Accountancy. All are welcome. I guess those that are staying at the hotel, we'll either get them to try to shuttle us or get some Ubers. Let's leave there about 6:10 maybe, because it's pretty close. Thank you. Today's meeting is adjourned.